Hey everybody, welcome back to Writing Gems. For those of you who are just tuning in, my name is Hannah L. Clark. I am the author of the young adult fantasy adventure called Kabuga. And what Writing Gems are, it's just kind of my way of sharing with those of you who are just starting out writers, or just really anybody who wants to learn a little bit more about how a novel evolves, just sharing with you kind of some of the tools and the, I don't know, just the writing secrets, I guess, that have really helped me in my writing process. Now, today's segment is entitled How to Build a World Building Bible. And before I get started, I kind of want to talk a little bit about what world building is. Now, world building it's well, exactly what it sounds like. Building a world. You're building the world that your story takes place in. And world building happens, it doesn't just happen, it's often associated with like fantasies or sci-fis or whatever, but it doesn't just happen there. World building happens in no matter what genre you write, you're going to be doing some kind of world building, even if it takes place in present day America. So this is something that will be valuable, hopefully, to everyone. Now, your world building has to do with anything from the climate of your world, to the cultural of your world, to the flora and fauna of your world, to the creatures in your world. I mean, whatever it is that builds and makes the reader feel like they are actually in a real world. Whatever element goes into causing that effect for the reader, that's part of your world building. Now, for me, I use a world building Bible to kind of keep track of all of those little elements that are unique to my world, that create that feeling and that environment for the reader for my world. And so before I jump into how I keep my writing world building Bible, I just kind of want to talk a little bit about what I do between what I talked about last time with my story mapping and this world building Bible. What I do after I've done story mapping is I just kind of have a full-fledged brainstorming session. And this can take anywhere from a couple of weeks to several months. Like for book 2, I've been really brainstorming the nitty-gritty details and facts on this novel since probably last October. But I mean, that's not all I've been doing, but really that's the majority of what I've been doing, is really just fleshing out all the details, filling in all the gaps in my story map, because really your story map is really still just a skeleton of your story. It's much more complicated than your Feralt's triangle, your basic story structure, but it's still really vague. So that's what I do in between the story mapping and really my next step, or my outlining. So my world building Bible is really kind of just helps me to organize all of those, that brainstorming. What I do is I'll brainstorm in just notebooks. I'll just hand write. That's how I think best when I'm creating like that, is just handwriting into notebooks. And then I'll take all those notes that I've taken, I'll organize them by topic, and then I'll put them into a portable file like this one, so I can have them always on hand. And I will keep them in this file like this until I'm finished writing the very last draft of my of book 2. I'll keep them like this. And I do that because, well, you just want to have it all on hand and make sure you keep all of your concepts and your ideas and facts straight. So to make it easier on myself, though, because these are a lot of notes. I mean, there's several, I would say there's probably a good 200 pages worth of notes in here. So I don't have to go through and really read all of these notes. Every time I'm unsure on a fact, I will compile these concepts and ideas that I've taken several pages of notes on into a small paragraph, and I'll take that paragraph that's very concise and very clear of that concept or that character or that creature, and I'll put it into my world building Bible. So a world building Bible is really, it's like an encyclopedia for your world, and it's a place to compile and organize all those ideas so that as you are writing your actual novel, you have a place, a reference guide. You can go back and look at those ideas and be like, oh, okay, that's not clear enough in here, or I need to make sure I put that fact in here so that the reader understands that concept, or just like I didn't, like say in book one, because I'm writing a multiple book, like a book series, like if I have a fact in book one and I'm not exactly sure what all I told the reader in book one, and I'm writing book three, I can go back to my story or world building Bible and I can check on those facts and stuff. So anyway, how I do a world building Bible is completely and totally unique to me and not necessarily the most effective or efficient way of doing it. So I'll tell you how I do it, and then I'll tell you a few of the ways that I've seen my writer friends do it that I think are way more efficient. But this is just what works for me. So I do a little bit of drawing and watercoloring in my world building Bible to kind of sketch out some concepts. And so I got a watercoloring portfolio to do mine in. How I organize it is I do it by alphabetically, and I just have these little tabs that are from A to Z in my book. And then the way that I do this is if I don't sketch in my own drawing, then I'll find a picture online or in a magazine or something that visually illustrates the concept or the character or the creature that I'm putting in here or that I've created, and then I'll put the picture in with that little blurb that the concise paragraph that I've taken from my brainstorming notes. So I'll show you a few examples. Right here I've got my Basili from book one. Basili is this creature right here, and this is a drawing that I did early on that I put in here, but this right here is the drawing that my illustrator, my sister Becca Shakespeare, the final one that she did for book one, and you'll find this in the book. So I just printed off a copy of that and pasted it in my book, so I have a visual of that that creature. And then I'll just do a paragraph here of what the creature is, where it comes from, why it's important to the plot, what are its magical qualities, just whatever I need to know as I'm writing the story to keep those facts straight and to just remind me of what I've already created with that character or with that particular element of my story. Another example of what I put in here is I've got hold on, let me find that really quickly. I've got my magic system, so I keep notes on my magic system. I have elementalists, or beings who can manipulate the elements in my story. That's my main power system, is that manipulation of the elements. So I have elemental charts here, and just kind of how I've manipulated those elemental charts to make the powers work in my world. I'll keep all that here. Like I have flora, so here's a flora, a picture that I've drawn of the flora, a flower in my world, and then I'll just write up a little blurb on that. Some other things, oh, like for instance, I'll do, so my book series is heavily based on legends, these legends that I've written of this world. And so I will take these legends and I'll write up a little brief summary of the legend and put it in my book, so that as I'm writing the series and that legend comes up later on in a later book, I can go back and refresh my memory on that particular legend before I continue writing, so that I make sure I keep everything straight for my reader. Another thing that I do in my world building Bible is, this is going to be kind of a corny admission for me, but I do character sketches, and as I do those character sketches, I go and search out a movie star that I think physically portrays that character, and I will do a picture of them and put them in there. It's really helpful for me to have a visual, and so that's kind of what I do with my characters. I also do a map of my world that I put in the back. This is a big reason why I chose a watercoloring portfolio, because I do my maps in watercolor, and that is really helpful for me, because I can take this with me wherever I go. If I go and write at a library, I have my whole dictionary, encyclopedia of my whole world right in my hands. I can take it with me wherever I go. It's portable. And so I have my map there too, which is really comes in handy, especially when I'm, you know, having to describe the world. I know what landmarks are there, or what the overall climate is like, or the, you know, if it's mountainous or if it's desert. So anyway, those are just really important things to have figured out and worked out in your World Bible, and have them on hand as you're writing so that you can remember them, and so you don't confuse your reader at all. And that is pretty much it. I mean, there's a million other things you can probably put in your world building Bible, but those are some of the main things that I do. So another way that I've seen it done is my friend who does it, and I don't know if I've told you that already. Oh, anyway, my friend who is also a writer, she does everything electronically. She'll put it all on the computer, and then she'll print it off and put them into protective sleeves, and then put it in a binder. And that makes way more sense to me, but I just don't think very well when I'm typing up, so I handwrite everything. Another way is I have a friend who just does them on a spreadsheet. She's very minimalist in her note-taking, and so she just puts them in a spreadsheet. Another thing that I have started using is Pinterest. Pinterest is a great place to keep track of ideas, or concepts, or characters, or whatever, and you can keep track of them electronically. It's also kind of fun to share those with your readers. Like, I have a Pinterest page for book 1 that I put in there that has kind of who I would choose for my characters if Kabagoth were made into a movie, or just kind of the things that inspired certain ideas in my book. I've got a few of those things on there too. But then I also have teasers for book 2 up there, a board for book 2 up there that I've posted pictures that have inspired certain, or represent certain concepts that I've come up with, but I don't have a little blurb, so that they're just kind of a teaser for my readers. So that's kind of fun too. But everything that I need to know and need to remember that I can't share with my reader yet, I put in my world building Bible. So anyway, I really hope this is helpful. I'm sorry if it's a little bit confusing. Hopefully not. If you have any questions or need clarification on any concept of, or any part of this that I've talked about, please leave a comment. Ask as many questions as you want. I'll answer the ones that I can, and I'll tell you if I don't know the answer on the ones that I can answer. But I hope this is helpful, and I really hope that it helps you along in your whatever writing you are doing right now. And that's that. If you'd like to visit my blog, if you're watching this from YouTube, if you'd like to visit my blog, it is Hannie, Hannie, Clark, with no E, .blogspot.com. And, or you can visit my website, which is www.hannalclark.com. So, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you guys all next time.